Let's start out now with your number 5 edge rusher.
Well, and I hope I say this name right because it's their hardest name of the group here. But Yetur Gross-Matos,
I'm going to Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yetur. Damn it, Yetur rhymes
There you
with
go.
Jeter. Okay, I gotta get that. Yetur Gross-Matos. All right,
Penn
so
State.
yes, he
Yeah.
will. He will be my number 5. Now, listen, he's a guy when you turn on the film, you go, "Whoa, he looks the part. He's pretty amazing looking. Let me see." As you start to watch the game, you go, "Whoa, great size, great length, pretty good first step, getting off the ball." All right. Now, the film itself, though, is underwhelming to me. I was expecting more physical dominance and playmaking from Yetur. I think that's the thing that I first came away with going, I like the guy. I think this guy will translate to the NFL, all right? Certainly that. He's kind of got nice clay, as we would say in the NFL world. You're going to be able
Mm-hmm.
to mold him into something. But I think between the size, the get off, the athleticism, there's some elite traits there to him overall. You just don't see a whole lot of people at that size being 6'5", high 260s, being able to
Right.
move the way he does. Now, as a pass rusher, it's inconsistent at times. Look, I could
Right.
take a game like Michigan and go, Michigan was down the whole game. They had to throw every play, and he
Mm-hmm.
really didn't get many pressures in the football game.
Would
So,
you ever take an edge rusher? I mean, even though you mentioned, and I saw the same thing, you see a lot of good traits. Sets the edge well. The inside rush was good, but not great
exactly.
speed around the end. Would you ever use a first-round pick on a defensive end where you just said that not a great pass rusher?
I would not. I would not. No, I would not. And this is a guy. Even I wrote at the end of my notes is I wrote bottom line. The kid's probably going to get overdrafted because of some of the traits we talked about.
Yeah.
But you're right. You said it, Paulie. I mean, he's got great strength at the point of attack. I mean, tackles, tight ends. It doesn't matter. The run game. I even wrote down in my notes. I think the run game is the thing he does best.
Mm.
His ability to get off blocks or even just stand them up, not let them move them and disengage. I mean, I liked all of that type of stuff. Definitely. You talked about the inside pass rush move, most effective move he has. But I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
disappointed in because I see it in this guy where I go, wait, okay, I know the speed's not top tier, but he's got good speed around the edge. He does have the ability to bend, but seems not confident in going to it a whole
Mm.
lot. And I think
Mm.
that's to me, yeah, it bothered me a little bit. I just never understood how, hey man, take over the game, threaten this guy up the field, do that. So there
Yeah.
was that. And then when you don't have that, you lack the speed to power move. Now I
Right.
saw it in there, but I don't see it consistently. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I look at a guy like this, yeah, I don't love this type of guy all the way. I
Right.
don't. I think this is a really good player. But I'm
Yes. Yeah.
careful with these type of guys. This guy reminds me of Daniel Hunter, who came out of LSU in a lot of ways. All right,
Very
where
good player.
or a very good player, or we could take Deion Jordan from Oregon, who ended up being a bust
Oh.
as a top 10
Ooh.
pick. Right? I never know
Top
with these
5
type of
pick.
guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, number 5 pick. Right? Where
Top 5. Yeah.
again, these guys sometimes when they get in an NFL environment and they're around other alpha males and they start to learn some techniques of the position and they got a
Mm-hmm.
defensive line coach who's got their poker up their ass all day long, you can
Sure.
start to see these guys mature and thrive
Right.
in those environments a lot of times, like we saw Daniel Hunter. Okay, I think he was one of those guys I would say that was it. And I
Yeah.
wouldn't be shocked to see that from Yetur, but I don't
Right.
see a guy that I'm going to say, oh, is a top 20 pick and is going to physically dominate games, especially early on in his career.
I think it's such a fine line in this process of what people hear and what they take away from it. So I hear you saying with all caps and raising your hand, this is not a first round pick. I don't want people to walk away and say, oh, Chris doesn't like the Penn State kid. Sounds like you would say, hey, don't take him in the first, but mid second, this is a real value player. Then that's how fine the line is.
I think so. That's exactly what I wrote too. I think I wrote at the very end. I said, "Hey, this kid is he's a middle. He's the second rounder all the way to me. I see elite traits. The size and athleticism and length are real. I do think he'll fill out more. Hey, we got to
Yep.
remember these kids they just stop growing, right? And
Right.
when you stop
Mm-hmm.
growing, then you start to get thicker and stronger. And this is a guy to answer your question as we started this whole thing. He does have the versatility to move inside. I think he's
Hmm.
got enough strength and power that he'll be able to take on guards. If you got to play him and say it's second and long and you want to move him into D tackle, you want to get 4 pass rushers in there. Yeah, he can be a handful for a guard in the pass game, but also if a team decided to run a draw, he's not going to get like blown out of the water by Zach Martin
Right.
or a Marshall
Right.
Yanda of the world. He'll be able to hold his ground and get off a block and make a play that way. So those are the things I do like about him. There certainly is versatility. I just
Hmm.
found the film to be underwhelming, I guess is what I want to say. I wish I saw more physicality from him, a little more
Right.
physical recklessness from him altogether, to throwing your body around. Oh, there's a running back over here. Let me just jump in front of them and make the tackle. Those are the things that I didn't love about him. But again, in the NFL, when you get in that environment, you can change as a human being and as you're growing into a man.
Right. Nothing wrong. I mean, when you go in expected to see first round talent, you got to be honest with yourself. If you see someone who's a level below that, I think your reasoning for having him as a second round kind of guy as opposed to a first is good. All right. So that's number 5. Who do you have there at number 4 for edge rushers?
Number 4, I'm going to Terrell Lewis, okay, from Alabama. This is one of my favorite guys, one of my favorite watches in the draft, first off. Paul, he really was. This guy was a guy where I'd heard about him a little bit, prior to my evaluations. And then when I turned on the film, I just went, whoa. First off, I didn't expect the guy to look like this, all right? He is high cut,
Yep.
high waisted. I mean, he looks like a racehorse, long arms, got got some muscle density. You see to him, he's 6'5", 262, but he looks longer than that. And really, okay, first off, has a lot of disruption in his game. Really good get off the line of scrimmage. Can do that. Can go speed to power. Has a spin move. I mean, the physical nature that I just said I wish I saw more from Yetur and Penn State, I saw plenty from Terrell Lewis as far as disruption is concerned. Whether that was breaking into the backfield and making the quarterback get off the spot and then he has to throw it away, or in the run game too. All of those
Mm.
things really checked out. You talk about the strength in the run game. He could set the edge, but was far more impressive than a guy like Yetur getting off blocks and throwing his
Mm.
body around. That is where I really enjoyed this kid. Now, is there a negative to his game? The biggest negative to him is he's got a knee issue. He hurt his knee in
Yeah.
2018, and I don't think he's
Yep.
totally healthy from it yet, but still able to dominate.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
mean,
that's the
each
only
of his
only
last two
thing.
years, each of his
Yeah.
last 2 years, not just touched by injuries, but majorly touched by injuries. So sounds like you like him a lot, both run and pass. Let's say a team bottom quarter of the first round that's already very good. They don't have to have a rush in luxury pick. Someone late 20s. Can you see him landing in that area?
I wouldn't be shocked if a team like, let's say, the Ravens or the Titans, okay, who could use somebody on the edge of their defense to be a difference maker, he would
Hmm.
fit that mold, Paul. Excuse me as I'm burping my lunch there, but he he would fit that mold. To me, yes, I look at him and go, this is a first round talent. Now the knee issue,
Hmm.
yeah, you're gonna have to there's gonna be a little concern there. Where is it
Yeah.
at right now? He still is very, very athletic, even with it. But we're talking about a
Hmm.
first round pick. And if I had one negative about him, I wish, especially from the left side of the defense, where he was reluctant to bend around that edge and to put pressure
Hmm.
on that left knee at times. You certainly could see that,
Okay.
but still had enough speed to threaten people upfield, had an inside move, had a spin move, and then was phenomenal at that Khalil Mack. Okay, I'm rushing off the edge, and then I'm going to throw my inside arm up underneath your chin or your shoulder
Yeah.
pads there and win with power. He was amazing at that. I mean, he really has a little bit of a versatility with his moves altogether. But the Tennessee
Hmm.
Titans, the Ravens, 3-4 base schemes on defense, he could be
Yep.
a pass rusher, or he could be a 3-4 outside linebacker. He can do any of that for you, and I think he
What about a
really has an
4-3 scheme?
upside to him. Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
How about a
Or
4-3 end?
nickel. Well, he could do
Okay.
that for sure. He could be a 4-3 rush end. There's no doubt about it. There's plenty of power to his game. Yeah, yes,
Okay.
there is. So I look at him being really immune to any scheme. He's going to be able to play in just about anything there is. And I would think that, another year away, he was healthy this year, that he'll just be that much more explosive. But, I am really, really impressed with the overall football player. And, again, I don't know if he's a first round pick. I ended up writing he's a first round talent with some injury concerns, but I think there's no doubt that he ends up in the top 45.
Yeah. But no matter where he goes, because we're not doing a mock draft. This is about where you think he belongs. Bottom half of the first round, let's say 25 through 32, you're comfortable slotting him there?
I am comfortable with slotting him there.
Okay.
Yes. I think this is a really, really good football player with tremendous upside, and has the type of ability, Paul, where, from what I saw, I mean, he could be a double-digit sack guy consistently through his career. The two of the
Okay.
names I wrote down for comparison with him, I wrote he really movement-wise reminds me of JPP. Jason Pierre-Paul. Yeah, has
Yeah.
a similar way in which he moves around. I even wrote DeMarcus Ware down as well.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I sat there for a while trying to think of, like, man, who does this guy remind me of? And those are the two names that popped out to me more than anything. But yeah, he was one of my favorite watches, Paul. Inside move, good spin move, had speed to power. I just want to make sure I hit it all here. Bend around the edge is really the only thing I wish was better, is what I wrote towards the end of my notes here. And you can see, if anybody wants to check out my full page of
You
notes,
can't
there's
read it.
Terrell
You
Lewis.
can't read it.
I
I've
know.
tried.
Good. I don't
Been
want you to
trying for
read
a
it
year and a half.
anyways. But I said that was really the only thing I wish I would see more of on film, was just a little bit more bend around the edge. Other than that, man,
Is that something?
strength
Is that
against
something
offensive
that
tackles and everything was really good.
is that last quality that you wish he had that he doesn't? Something that he can learn, or is that a quality that you either have or you don't?
I think he has the quality. I think it's there, right? So I saw it to go, oh, there it is. I like it.
Hmm.
I think the knee trust would be the thing I took away. And I mean, I don't know how many plays I watched of him. I'm going to tell you, I watched 150 plays or so of him. And I saw him do it on occasion, but I just think there was a reluctance to trust his knee as he was coming around the edge sometimes, with just being
Hmm.
off, like you said, 2 years of knee injuries. And I
Yeah.
think that was more of the big problem than anything. So I've seen the evidence that it's possible. I just want to see it more. And then once I see it more, I want to see it continue to go on the arc and the upward path. But
Right.
like I said, this is one of my man crushes. I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking about this guy 3 years from now as like one of the better defensive players in all of football.
All right. Well done. Lewis of Alabama in there at number 4. Number 5 was Gross-Matos out of Penn State, bringing us to your edge rusher number 3.
Yeah, well, that's where we're going to go with I'm going to your school, big guy. I'm
Go
going to
Hawks.
AJ Epinesa. Okay, did I say that right? Since I just want to
Very
make
well
sure I
done on
don't
the
want to disrespect.
pronunciation. Yeah.
Good,
You nailed it.
good.
Yeah.
Epinesa is, I think, one of the slam dunk safest picks of the draft, in my opinion. That would
Even
be
though he
the
ran a
first
5
statement.
at the combine, I mean, the
Yeah,
first comment out of evaluators' mouth right away before they get to his college production, gosh, he ran over a 5 in the 40 at the combine. He scares me. Doesn't scare you?
yeah. No, it does. It does. Listen, I saw it. It's the first thing I write down next to his name. Dan, how good can he be? He ran a 5 flat, a
Yeah.
5.04. But okay, I think this is how you have to look at it. Now, this guy is different than, the guys we talked about. Maybe he's a little bit more like Yetur, but this guy's a different animal than really the rest of the class we're going to talk about for the most part today. This guy,
Hmm.
to me, classifies as a strong side defensive end, as a crash end, we would call in the NFL. He's not the guy that you want on the weak side with the short edge all the time. This is the guy you want to the tight end side, who is going to be able to handle a tight end tackle double team in the run game or do any of that. But then also he's going to be great value as a pass rusher. And Paul, when I turned on the film, he plays a lot faster than 5.04. He really does.
Right?
He
Yeah.
he does. I mean, I know
He
you
looks like a
watched him, of
4.8 guy
course.
on tape. Yeah. Looks like a
Exactly.
4.8 guy on tape all day long. I know.
All day long. And then, you talk about power. Okay, first off, for a big guy who's 6'5", 275, and again, I think
Hmm.
he'll get bigger. He'll probably be 285 a year or two from now. He's got good bend around the edge. He's got great hands. He can not only just swim or swat hands away, he can do the old jerk move where he kind of locks it out and then rips you and throws
Yeah.
you back down to the ground. I mean, he's
Yeah.
phenomenal at that. He's a really, really good football player. He's not a sexy sack machine. That's not what he's going to
Right.
be. He is going to be that guy that you referred to early in this pod, Paul. Defense end, but oh, hey, this week we're playing a team that likes to throw it 45 times. We're playing Kansas City. We don't need to worry about the run game. Hey,
Hmm.
AJ, you move to 3 technique. We're going to bring in one of our
Yeah.
smaller pass rushers, and now we have 4 great pass rushers on the field too, and he won't be
Right.
compromised in the run game because he has the strength to hold up against guards and tackles and do all that. So
Right.
that's why I
That's what I'm
like this
thinking.
guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. As I listen to you, it's like you're describing a very versatile defensive tackle as opposed to a defensive end.
Sure. Well, I think of this guy like in the terms of Michael Bennett from the Seattle Seahawks, all right? Or
Yeah.
or Tyrone Crawford for the Dallas Cowboys, who was drafted, I think, in the late second, maybe third round from Boise State.
From
You
Boise
know,
State. Yeah.
right? Yeah, guys
It's
that
a great
are.
comp. That's good. Yeah.
I think that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
Where on first
Yeah.
and second down, he's going to be your strong side defensive end, and you're going to get
Hmm.
sacks and disruption out of him. And then on third down, you bring some more speed in, and you let him become an interior pass rusher. I think he's got great value like that. And that's what Michael. I'm not trying to say he's going to be Michael Bennett in the
Oh,
NFL, but
those are good
but
pictures to
Michael
think about. Yeah.
Right, that's what he was. Michael Bennett was that guy. It was, oh, we're going to play small front. Hey, Michael Bennett, you play defensive tackle. Oh, we're going to get big. Hey, Michael Bennett,
Yeah.
you move out to defensive end. And I think that's what he can do, let alone this final aspect, which makes him, I think, a slam dunk too, Paul, is I think he could play 3-4 defensive end, where he could play head up on an offensive tackle and be man
Right.
enough to control that and two gap and disengage that way. So Epinesa is really, it's not about sex appeal. This is just a
Right.
really, really good football player who can kind of do it
Yeah.
all.
He might be better off as a 3-4 end because that's much more about physicality and taking on blocks than a 4-3 end where you expect to get a lot of sacks. And here's what I like about this case study, and remove the fact that I know he played at my alma mater. I mean, I was in the locker room with his dad. I mean, his dad was on his way into Iowa City as I was on my way out. So I would love to see this kid do well, but he's kind
Right.
of the poster child for what is unique and difficult about this draft for the evaluators because when you think about the 40-yard dash at the combine, it doesn't mean somebody can play or can't play. But if someone goes way faster than they were supposed to or way slower than they were supposed to, everybody goes in their book and makes a check. I got to go back and watch film and I got to get on campus and see this guy. Is he really that fast or really that slow? So the fact that he ran a 5, people were going to come to Iowa City and work him out on their own and say, I got to see his speed and quickness because it didn't show up at the combine. Now they can't get out and do that. There's no pro day. There's no individual workout. There's no finishing touch on his evaluation. So we're talking about AJ Epenesa, but I think we're talking about a major issue with this draft for the
Yes.
evaluators that they have questions physically about a lot of these kids. Is he as slow as he ran at the combine? They don't get to spend the last month getting out and seeing the kid on campus and seeing if he can answer that question.
It's huge. I mean, it's a huge aspect of this draft. There's some teams that pride themselves on their ability to distinguish certain players just through the personal workout, where they'll
Mm-hmm.
go, oh, okay, hey, player A has better film, all right, than player B, but it's not that much better. Let's go work them out and see what the difference is. And then they get to the
Right.
workout and they go, ooh, player B has some traits that I think are going to translate better than the NFL than player A. Even though his film is better, this guy I think
Right.
is more built and has a more, specific skill set to our defense that we run. And now certain teams are going to lose that aspect of their scouting, and it's a huge deal.
Right.
This is something my friends have talked to me a lot. Those teams
Right.
who have the belief in their ability to do that, and then
Yes.
also the teams that have what they would deem as great people skills, right? Hey, we could take a
Mm-hmm.
chance on a guy who maybe has a checkered past because we feel like we've created an environment here, and I'm a head coach who knows how to handle some different
Right.
personalities and things like that. The fact that those guys aren't getting to get around some of these guys on a full day basis and going out to dinner and do the workout and get in the meeting room. Now you're not going to be able to distinguish yourself there too to go, ooh, should we take a chance on this guy or not this guy? Because I'm not so sure. We didn't get to spend the day with him. And I think it's
Right,
very real
right.
about this draft. Yeah.
It's been really fun for me the last I'd say 48 hours, Chris. Two different GMs had such different explanations of this scenario for me. One on the younger end, in the probably in his 40s, was concerned about this because he grew up in an environment of evaluation where you need that last month of finishing touches. They use that pro day. They use the individual workouts. They get great conviction from that. And all those who are used to having that don't have it, they're way out of their comfort zone. I talked
No
to another
doubt.
GM, quite a bit older than us, has been around a long time. He said, you know what? This is good for us because it comes down to your ability to watch film, and it comes
Yeah.
down to how much you trust your scouts, because your scouts were there on campus during the season. If you can watch film and trust it, and you have great scouts on the lower level, you don't need that last month. So it's the same scenario. It's just two different ways of looking at it.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting. You're right. It's to me, it would be unsettling to me because the look
I
test
would
would
think
be
so too,
big. The
right?
look test
Put your
would be
hands on
big.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
like we're talking like you got a guy who okay, we got two defense ends or we got a really close grade on both of them. You
Hmm.
know, some
Go
my
see
dad will
them.
tell the story sometimes of Bill Parcells where they weren't sure who to cut at the end of
Yep.
training camp, and Bill would just go, let's just go with the bigger, better looking one, right? I mean, that was his like, let's just go with the bigger one. He'll last the season longer, whatever it may
Right.
be. And those are
Hmm.
things you're not going to be able to tell without an in-person test or just looking at the guy and letting him go through some of your personal workout drills that you feel like can distinguish some of those traits.
Right. Okay, so that brings us 5 through 3. At 5, Gross-Matos, Penn State; 4, Lewis, Alabama; and 3, Epenesa from Iowa. So unlike last week, Chris, I mean, there's not a lot of surprises in the top two or a name that's going to get left out. Kayvon Chaisson is your number 2 edge rusher from LSU.
Yep.
I'd like to start out with what separated him from these other three, 5, 4, and 3, and clearly 3 and 4, Epenesa and Lewis, you liked a whole lot.
I like a whole lot. It's just this there's no doubts in my mind about this player from what I saw. As I talked with Lewis, where I said, oh, Lewis from Alabama, I wish I just saw a little bit more bend around the edge, right? With Epinesa, I go, oh, I wish he was, just a hair better athlete. He's still a good athlete. And again, we can't count him as one of these top tier pass rushers. He's a different type of player than some of these guys we're talking about. But I've come away with all the guys we've talked about so far going, I wish they just did this one thing better.
Hmm.
I don't come, these last two guys, I don't come away saying that about anything. I mean, uh, K. Levon is definitely one of my man crush leaders in this draft. First off, just tremendous explosion. I think he's the most naturally gifted pass rusher in the draft. There's no doubt
Wow.
about it. He was the guy when I looked at him, I just said, man, most mock drafts, they got him at 24, 25. After the first game, I went, this kid's a top 20 pick. I mean, this is
How high in the top
it.
20? How high?
I wouldn't be shocked if he went in the single digits crazily to anybody. I mean, if somebody took him at 8, I wouldn't go, oh my gosh, what a horrible pick. He's better than Vic Beasley was coming out in the draft. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Vic
Right.
Beasley was the 7th pick of the draft. He's better than Brian Burns was last year. It was the 15th pick of the draft. So that's just to give perspective. Now, every year doesn't translate to every year because sometimes certain positions and needs that dictates the first round. But this kid, as far as explosiveness off the ball, bend around the edge, spin
Hmm.
move, speed to power. I mean, he was put on earth to rush the passer. The names
Wow.
I wrote down, I went, this guy's, he's Von Miller, he's Derek Thomas, he's D
Wow.
Ford.
Double
He's that
wow.
type of player. Yeah, to me, that's the
Yeah.
type of athlete he is. Let
That's
alone Paul. He's got some, he's got physicality to him. He throws his body around recklessly, and I really like that about him. To me, that's a big aspect of being a really good pass rusher is you got to have that physicality to you.
and just listening to the terms you're throwing out to describe Chaisson, and also the ones I've written down from other guys I've talked to: burst, athletic, explosive, My favorite, and the one that makes him most unique in this class, and I think the one that translates the most to the next level, is bendy, having the bend off the edge. And I sat in the cold and watched a decade of practices at the Senior Bowl, and a lot of these guys looked the same. The one who looked different, I remember exactly how it looked on that Tuesday and Wednesday in full pads, was Von Miller. He could get down like he was going to touch the ground, but he was going full speed with full power. And if you're describing the kind of bend that Von Miller had, that is gigantic praise.
It's that kind of bend, Paul. It is, and yeah, Von Miller's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's that type of player. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, and hey, I'm big into ass and legs, and if you want to be able to
Yes,
turn the corner with a
got to have
315
it.
man pushing on you, you better
Yeah.
have some ass and legs. And he is put together. And again, he's a 3-year college kid. He's going to continue to grow and get stronger, but he is dense, muscled out, and incredibly twitchy. And yes, the bend, to what you said, is the best in the draft. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about Chase Young here in a minute, who has bend,
Right.
but the bend
Yeah.
aspect is not to where Chaisson is. Chaisson can
Right.
like do what you said. If he's coming around that left edge, I mean, it seems like he can get his right shoulder like a foot off the ground as he's turning the
Yeah.
corner, which is really, really impressive. Let alone, I mean, he played in the SEC. I saw him against NFL offensive tackles.
Right.
And, he's got the versatility. If you had to have him drop into coverage, he's phenomenal in space. He
Wow.
can break down and make tackles. And for his size at, the mid 250s, he's incredibly strong. I mean, incredibly. I couldn't get over the strength of the player. Like, really was stronger at the point of attack and taking on double teams than Yetur from Penn State, who's a much bigger man. And I
Right.
think that's where
Right.
I started to look at it and just go, wow. I mean, I like this guy. And then I liked his recklessness. I did. I liked how he wasn't, oh, somebody's running through the hole. I'll just throw my body in front of
Yeah.
him and let him crush me, but he'll go down. I'm big into that, and that's where he really jumped off the screen to me.
How about a concern? It's a lot of like there. What concerned you about him?
The concern, I said, because he went to the combine and he weighed 254, and then he didn't run the 40, right? And I would say
Mm-hmm.
on film that this would be a guy that during the season, what I saw, I would think he's a low 4.5 type of athlete running the 40.
Right. Yep.
But I question how much he weighed during the season too. One of the questions I wrote was, how much does he actually weigh? I said I bet he's mid 40s when he's playing an NFL or this college season. I bet he's like 245. I
Hmm.
wonder, with him putting on the extra weight, he felt like he lost a little speed, and he said, "Yeah, forget it. I won't run the 40. I'll just do the things I'm good at, do the drills, show what I'm good at, and then kind of move on from there." But I think that was the only thing really, Paul, that I looked at and went, huh, it's a little concerning to me, but not a big deal. I think
Not
he's
overly.
certainly a
Yeah.
naturally bigger guy and stronger than, like I said, a guy like Burns or Vic Beasley, and certainly a more natural, explosive pass rusher. I love this kid. This is one of my favorite players I've watched in the draft so far.
It sounds like you're describing somebody who would be worthy of a top 5 pick, and a lot of other classes, maybe the number 1 edge rush title. So, what is a team getting in Chase Young as we turn the corner from 2 to 1 here on your edge rush list? What are they getting in Chase Young that they wouldn't be getting in the wonderful player you just described?
Yeah, well, Chase Young is like, he's in a class of his own. I mean, this is super freak territory we're talking about. To be his size, that strong, that fast, that overpowering, to have, the first step he does, to have good bend. Yes, his bend is not as good as K. Levon, but it's still really good bend. And then I think the other thing that I just came away shocked and awed by was like his quickness at the point of attack, Paul. Yes, he could win with speed. He could win with speed to power, but he could win given the offensive tackle a shimmy move, like, and I don't even know what to call it, where he just would basically fake a bunch of different ways and then explode when he felt like, oh, I got him off balance. Let me just go now. That I was amazed by his side to side change of direction movements at 265 pounds. Yeah, this
Mm-hmm.
guy is, we're talking about Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, Julius Peppers type of specimen here with Chase Young. if you wanted to move him to defensive tackle, he's so freaking strong. He could go, oh, okay, I'll play defensive tackle this week, coach. No problem. I'll be
Right.
able to handle Zach. I mean, this guy is a freak of nature specimen, let alone a really good football player.
And concern. I mean, there's so many compliments there. And I just asked you about Caleb on the same question, but what kind of concern might you have about him?
I mean, I don't know if there's any concern. I don't know if there's really anything like that. I think if I was going to say, okay, I don't think he's the pass rusher Myles Garrett was coming out. Okay, I think Myles Garrett was more special to beat people around the edge and just as a pure pass rusher. All
Do you
right,
think
and I
Chase
think
Young is a better overall prospect, though?
I think that he plays the run probably better than a guy like Myles Garrett did. Yes, especially if he does get in that predicament of being double teamed by a tight end or a tackle, something like that, he is very strong at the point of attack and can hold his ground. So, yes, I would say he's probably better than a Myles Garrett in the run game, a better pass rusher than Jadeveon Clowney, but not as good as Jadeveon Clowney was in the run game, right? So it's a mix of that type of guy,
Hmm.
really. But man, Paul, like one of my favorite things to say is
It's
there
all
just
there.
ain't too many people walking on around planet Earth that are built like this guy and can move like this guy.
Do you think there should be any hesitation for the Washington Redskins after the Bengals take Joe Burrow? Should the Redskins hand in a card with Chase Young's name on it? I guess they're not handing in cards this year, but should that pick be made right away without any hesitation?
Without any hesitation, I would go there. Yeah, this is a guy that just they don't come around very often. This is a once, every 4, 5, 6 years type of player, an athlete and specimen. If you're the
Hmm.
Washington Redskins, you have the chance to have Chase Young, the Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez
Kerrigan.
Sweat, and Ryan
Hmm.
Kerrigan, where you could
Hmm.
go. I mean, our defensive front is going to be able to ruin and win some games for us alone. And that's special this day and age in the NFL. It is. So, yes, if I'm the Washington Redskins, I'm going with Chase Young. He's too special that as far as just as a football player. And I think it'll give them a really, really dominant aspect of their football team.
Let me see if I can tempt you with this one after listening to you talk about your second edge rusher, Caleb on Chaisson. Let's say that the Redskins felt about Chaisson the same way you do, and someone came up at number 2 and said, "We'll give you our first and our second this year, our first and third next year." You drop down, let's say, I'm not going to pick a specific team, but you drop down somewhere between 8 and 14, and you think, "Boy, we can get all those picks, and we can probably get Chaisson." Would you make that move?
I probably would. Yes, I would. If you're getting one of those type of deals, and again, I think Chase Young is better than Chaisson, but
Right.
not by that many assets, not by what you just explained there. Yeah, if that
Yeah.
happened and somebody, let's just say, was in love with Justin Herbert or Tua or something like
Right.
that, right? And they want to make that move, I would go ahead, Washington Redskins, make that move. And
Hmm.
especially, Montez Sweat. Again, he's kind of a freak of nature himself. I'm not going to say he's Chase Young, but he has some of those freaky ability DNA traits that Chase Young does have. So you
Hmm.
could have him and a Chase on the edge and still be phenomenal that way. Yes, but just some of the things I wrote down with Chase Young. He throws his body around again. I'm big into that. Listen, you're going to be an NFL defensive end. You got to like welcome physicality and car crashes and things like that.
Hmm.
And that's what I didn't like about Yetur, right? He
Right.
bothered me that way, where I wanted to go, come on, man, like throw your body around. You're the biggest, baddest dude out there. And
Right.
Chase Young will throw the body around. He's immovable on the edge. I mean, immovable. Once he gets like this, night night, it's over. I don't care who you are. He's gonna lock his arms out, and you're not going to move. So I just look at that and just go, I don't see anything really negative about him at all. I wish he would use his speed rush
Hmm.
more. All right. I think he like chickens out on it, but it's still really good. And between that, the size, the power, the speed to power, the ability to move side to side and change directions and have that little inside move that we talked about with Yetur a little bit,
Hmm.
that jumped off the page to me. I just think he's a slam dunk prospect.
I can see somebody out there. I can hear plenty of people saying, okay, if he's that great, why only 2 tackles and no sacks against Clemson in January?
Well, okay. I mean, you can watch games sometimes of a guy and go, "Oh, why am I watching this game? He only had 2 tackles." And then you watch the game and you go, "Whoa, well, he had a tremendous effect on the game." You know,
Hmm.
they were having to double team him. He got close to the quarterback a lot, but the quarterback was throwing a quick pass, whatever it may be. So yeah, he didn't have a dominant football game there, but the Clemson Tigers were very aware of him for sure.
Hmm.
He was
Yeah.
close a bunch and disruptive. So I didn't come away from that looking like, oh man, yeah, Chase Young's got a lot of issues here. No, you know, college football, you could see, it's read option, it's screen to the receiver, it's a short
Hmm.
pass, it's a screen to
Right.
the running back, and you could see a defense end beat his guy 6, 7 plays in a row. But you just go, man, the quarterbacks, they don't have the drop back pass game the NFL does. They don't hold the ball that
Right.
way, and it's hard to get consistent pressure and sacks that way all the time. I could show you people, with a lot of sacks and go, yeah, that's great, but they're bullshit sacks.
Right.
Where
No,
the
you're right.
quarterback
Yeah.
scrambled and then he got off the block and made a tackle, 4 inches behind the line of scrimmage and he got a stat for
Hmm.
a sack. And you go, well, he really didn't beat his guy. It was a coverage sack,
Right.
but he got the sack. And we make a big deal about, oh, look, he got 12 sacks this year. And I want to go, yeah, there's guys in this draft that I saw that got 7, 8, 9, 10 sacks, and I
Yeah.
watched them and I went, yeah, that's great. But like only 4 of the sacks were like sacks that I would consider, wow, he beat his
Right.
guy and did what you have to do in the NFL to get to a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers.
Couple of things here, Phil. Chris. I knew I could bring out the
Yeah.
inner Phil. I knew I could bring out the inner Phil in you with the voice by bringing up a stat. And second, I got to tell you, Chris, I'm a little disappointed with your response there because I laid it out there perfectly for you to use your favorite defensive end stat that is
The
only
play
yours.
up.
Yeah,
The
you didn't
play
use
up.
it.
I
Didn't
know.
have a
I don't know
sack,
what.
but
I was a chicken, right? What a chicken I was there. I know.
be
You're
better
right. I
next
don't
time.
know why I didn't do that, but either way, the guy's a special player. He's going to be a force in the NFL for 10 years or more. He's not going anywhere. And, again, it's just another guy, just like Chaisson or Yetur or any of those where I just go, no disrespect here. These are kids. They're
Hmm.
going to continue to get bigger and stronger and more
Right.
physically explosive. And I think we can't forget that. I mean, Chase Young, I really like him. He's got tremendous upside. I don't think he's as good as Nick Bosa coming out of Ohio State last year. I'll say that.
Hmm.
Now, I think he's got more play strength. He's better against the run. He's not as good a pure pass rusher as Bosa was. That would be the only thing I would say. But again, you get a guy like this in an NFL environment around other alphas and the coach
Right.
calling you out on a daily basis, and you're starting to be in a meeting room with other guys that are really talented. This is a guy that I think, the what do I want to say? The sky's the limit for Chase Young.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.